Good morning. I just wanted to speak to you about accountability and how crucial it is in your healing journey. Um, Without accountability, we can't grow. And this doesn't mean to be accountable to other people. Like when you feel maybe you said something that you regret or you did something that you regret, and apologizing. I mean, that's one aspect of it, but it's more important to be accountable with yourself. If you're truly not being honest with yourself, you can't change. If I do an action and I blame and I project and it's this person's fault or it's this thing that's happened's fault, I'm putting my power into something outside of me. And when we do that, we can't change because our power's not from us. So if I go to work and my boss speaks to me in a tone that I find disrespectful or I find hurtful, and that puts me in a bad mood, and then I go and say something hurtful to a friend or a family member, and I blame, it's my boss's fault because he spoke to me like this. I wouldn't have said that, or I wouldn't have done that if he hadn't have spoken to me like that. But what we're doing in that scenario is we're allowing someone else's actions to have power over ours. You know, if you're not accountable for your own actions, you can't change them. You know, you're in that example. Your power, your accountability has gone to your boss. He's now controlling your life because of how he spoke to you. And this goes throughout your whole life. Like anyone's actions or what they say, if you allow them to control you, we're just going to keep replaying these responses, automatic subconscious responses to certain emotions. So we have to challenge. That doesn't mean that we can't feel. We don't feel. Of course, we're human. We feel a full range of emotions, all of us. No matter how you view someone or how amazing someone is, they feel every set of emotions. We're all the same. But we have to be mindful when someone says something or does something and an emotion comes up that's uncomfortable. We allow ourselves to feel it, because if we resist, it will persist. Like tension in the body needs attention, and I think there's confusion with emotions. Like, and I definitely had this too when I was younger. Like, I was so disconnected with my body that my thoughts were what I thought were my feelings. But your thoughts create your feelings too. So if you're constantly thinking, ruminating on something that's happened, or what could I have said, what did he say, why did he say that, we're just feeding our emotions. Emotions aren't meant to sit still and not be released within our body. They should pass through us. I think it's anger. I don't know, it might be different for each emotion, but anger lasts in the body like 10 or 15 seconds. But it's our thoughts afterwards that allow that emotion to persist. So for example, if we use that boss example again, like my boss says something that I find hurtful or disrespectful, and it angers me, it frustrates me. Why would he treat me like this? Exactly what I just said, that thought and the continuation of those thoughts is what's going to keep that emotion from me feeling that emotion. So if I'm thinking, why is he treating me like this? He's this, he's that. I'm just feeding the anger, when in reality I can just take a breath, I can feel the emotion, connect with it in my body where I feel it. Even if it's difficult to identify what emotion it is, like what are the sensations? Is it heavy? Is it dense? Is it weighted? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it moving? Is it, I don't know, is there loads of energy? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? All these things describe it. And when you're doing that, you have to connect to the feeling. You have to connect to the sensation. So that will allow you to begin that process of connecting with your body, because that's all it truly is. Like, we've just become disconnected from our body because of childhood. Something happened when you were a child that made you feel unsafe when you felt a certain emotion. So, for example, let's use sadness. If you're really sad as a child, you're going to cry. And if your parents didn't allow you to cry, told you to shut up, or pushed you away, in that moment, as a child, you needed your parents' love, you needed safety. You needed safety from your parents, them to provide that. But if they tell you to shut up and they push you away, it's causing more of a rift. You don't feel close to them. And that's all you crave as a child, closeness from your caregivers. So you begin to learn, when I cry, that's not okay. I can't cry, or I can't feel this emotion, because when I do, I don't get love. When I do, my parents push me away. So I have to hide this emotion. It's not safe for me to be like this around my parents. So that will persist throughout life until we unlearn what we've learned. So if you feel sadness now, and that was your experience as a kid, you might numb it. I mean, I think that's quite common. Like, obviously you've got alcohol, drugs, but things like just binge watching TV, eating certain foods, it's all comfort. It's all to numb the feeling from within, to take away what you feel. So this is where accountability comes in. If you are truly accountable with your actions for yourself, the most important thing is to do things for yourself, not to do things for others. Like, it's your life. You're the most important person in your life. So the most loving thing you can do is be honest with yourself, because without the honesty, you can't take the steps forward. You can't change, because you'll repeat the same cycles. Yeah, accountability is a must. I mean, without it, you just can't take the steps forward. And it doesn't mean that you get to like criticize or shame yourself for making mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's just a process, like constant practice. And healing's not linear. There'll be days when maybe you do less or feel worse, but those are the days when doing things that make you feel energized and being compassionate with yourself is so important. I think it's easy for us to criticize, or the old thought patterns come up when we feel certain emotions, because we weren't allowed. So you're not allowing yourself. You've just learned from your parents. Like the example we used, I'm not allowed to be sad because I don't get love. That's how you've internalized it. So when you feel sad, you don't allow yourself to feel sad, because you've never been allowed to feel sad. You've just learned what your parents learned from their parents, from their parents, from their parents. It's not like your parents didn't love you or didn't care about you. They only loved you and cared about you the way that they knew how to, and they learned that from their parents. So when you're a kid and you're crying or whatever it is, that you're just triggering your parents. You're triggering an emotional reaction from your parents that takes them out of their heart. And when they're out of their heart, they're not in love. They're not in the vibration, the frequency of love. And they react on subconscious programming that they learned from their parents. Oh, I wasn't allowed to. This is not what they're thinking, but I wasn't allowed to be sad. They're not allowed to be sad. It triggers me. So all they do is they project their internal space onto you, unless you had parents that healed these wounds. But of course, there's no perfect parent. Like, we'll take on some sort of emotional traumas from our parents, and it comes not even just parents, but it could be school or anything that happened as a child, grandparents, other family members. So challenge yourself, just try and be mindful, create a bit of separation from how you feel, because your thoughts make your reality, but you aren't your thoughts. When we can create a bit of distance from our thoughts and we can challenge them, we can learn. And when you hold yourself accountable, you can really learn and begin to change. Without that, you're just going to keep replaying the same cycles. And I mean, if these cycles were the life that satisfied you, you'd already have everything that you wanted, right? So if you do, that's great. But if you don't feel satisfied or fulfilled in life, there's an indication that something has to change or things have to change. So be conscious, create separation, and be accountable. Be honest with yourself. That's the most important thing. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you again tomorrow.